Welcome. Now that we have learned how to give our little monster a face and an animated face that can look back and forth, let's take it to the next step and explore inputs and outputs by building a Tamagotchi-like pet. We're going to build a Tamagotchi-like pet to demonstrate how inputs and outputs are used in our code. Today it's going to be a very simple input and output. We're going to explore a sensor built into the microbit. The accelerometer senses the force of gravity or the force of acceleration on the chip in three different axes, the X, Y, and the Z. And it's helpful to take a look at a little diagram to understand what exactly is going on there. So let's take a look at that diagram. When the microbit is flat, the Z is straight up and down off the top, and the force of acceleration felt on Z is measured this way. You can see it's positive up and negative down. Therefore, when it is sitting flat, it's going to be roughly minus 9.8 G. The gravitational force is 9.8. Even though it's sitting still, because the accelerometer is measuring the forces on it, it's measuring the force of gravity, and therefore it's measuring something even though it's not moving. The X and the Y are also used, and the angle of the X and the Y is called pitch and roll, and that's a term taken from aviation. Why does that matter? Well, you'll see that in the blocks you can use pitch and roll in your code as a way of understanding how the microbit is. Therefore, it's good to know what pitch and roll is and how it's measured. So the roll is as it goes like this, and the pitch is the up and the down. So now that we've seen the basic ideas, let's take a look at the blocks in our code and understand what we've got here. Okay, so this is the code we have written before. Right now, we have a forever block that says look right, look forward. It's constantly looking back and forth, and we've created some functions that have it looking right and left. Since we're going to do some code today that will explore Tamagotchi-like pet using our little monster, let's do a super simple one. How about when the monster is flat on its back, it's asleep, and when it's upright, it's awake. And for awake, we'll maybe have it looking right and left. So that block of code we've already written, we'll keep that for when it's awake. But when it's asleep, it's going to be snoring. So step one is let's define what it is to be asleep. Well, we've defined the other ones using our face. So let's draw a quick face that will show what it's like to be asleep. So here I've got a blank one. I am going to decide, I think I'm going to just give a sleeping face is going to be the straight nose, and maybe just a straight mouth. The sleeping face is just asleep. It's not happy, it's not sad, it's just asleep. And for the eyes, I'm just going to do the center eye is going to be green. So that's a sleeping face. Let's call that asleep. So let's first write into our code a face and create a function, call it sleeping. All right, let's go into the code and do that. So easiest way is to take a previous one. Like here, I've got this function called look forward, and I am going to duplicate it. Now I'm going to call it, not looking, let's call it be asleep. Remember the naming convention, the verb, and then the action. So be asleep, we're going to call it be asleep. I've capitalized the A because I'm using that naming convention. Okay, so then I'm going to look at my drawing and what goes where. We know that I actually don't want anything for this one. So I'm going to just take this one off. Actually, let's just do, you know what? I'm going to undo that. Keep that at white. And then the middle one, which was 1, is going to be green. So the eye is going to be green. Let's go find green. And then number 2 is white again. Then number 6 is going to be green. Then remember, I have to look at this upside down. So I'm going to take a look at this face, and it's going to be a straight mouth. So this is be asleep is the function that we're going to use to do it. So now we have to create the code that decides when it's asleep or when it's awake. And for that, we're going to use a logic loop, a very simple if-then loop. We're going to go into our logic here, and you'll see that if something is true, then this, otherwise do something else. So let's drop this into our forever loop. And let's say if it's flat, it's going to be asleep. Otherwise, it's going to be awake, looking back and forth. I've taken this logic. If one thing is true, then do this. I still have to change what happens, the logic there, but now I've got this function. Let's drop in my function be asleep into the if something is true. Now let's look at our input blocks to decide which input we want to use. In here, you will see that there are different types of things that can happen when it is awake or asleep. It says, do this thing if it's been shaken, or is shake gesture. These are all driven off the accelerometer. If I click on that, these are all inputs driven off the accelerometer. You can shake it, have the logo facing up, you can have the logo facing down, the screen facing down, the screen facing up, tilt left, tilt right. Well, we want it to be asleep, and asleep is when it's going to be flat like that. So when it's asleep, the screen is facing up. Let's say screen up. If screen up, then be asleep. Otherwise, look right and left. Let's take a look at how that works with our code. I'm going to download that. Plugged it in. Clicked on download. Okay, so let's take a look at this. All right, here it is. It's flat, and now while it's flat, you see the mouth is straight and the eyes are green. If I start to tilt it up, just by tilting it up a little bit, you'll see that now it's moving back and forth again. And if I tilt it slowly backwards, it goes back to sleep. This is a super simple exploration of the inputs and outputs, and we've taken these ideas of functions to use them as the emotions. It's asleep, it's awake. What does it mean to be in one or the other? And now we've added inputs and outputs. The input in this case is the accelerometer. The output is the change in the face. Have fun exploring other things you can do and start thinking about how your pet reacts to different motions. Is it happy when you shake it? Is it unhappy when it's on its side? You can create lots of different logic loops in there and play with that. Explore what happens when you put those, the order in which you put your logic loop and how that changes things. There's a lot to explore here. You can start to make your pet more and more interesting as it goes.